He gets off on you being excited about something that he knows you will never get. It is the level of cruelty. Got locked down. We decided to quarantine together. I know it was crazy. It was crazy. Things moved at a rapid pace. Met in March. Moved in together pretty much end of March, beginning of April. Found out I was pregnant in May. Lost the baby in June. Had to have surgery in July. Started looking for houses. Started looking at cars. I watched him put an all-cash offer in on the house. The offer was an all-cash, full asking price offer, $700,000. We got married on a Tuesday. I got married January 5th. By January 31st, I knew I was in trouble. So this man gaslit me like I was Georgia Natural Gas just to get a reaction. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to part 20 of Who the Fuck Did I Marry? No, I had not been to his office simply because, again, COVID. Hey, how's it going? I'm good. Hey, is the building open? No, I just want to take my wife up there so she can see it and see my office. Are you up there right now? You're not? And something about the social seemed different than the social security number that I remember seeing when we did our marriage license. I did a background on the ex-wife. So I called her. She answered. Then she starts laughing. And she said to me, and I quote, "If you were calling me, then I know it's bad." When he told me the grandmother died from COVID and he was crying, boo-hooing and all that shit, she actually had died in July of 2008. Because I know my Father in heaven's going to forget the fact that I'm going to divorce him for infidelity. I was relieved, to be honest with you. Like, oof, okay. I got grounds now, bitch. Every single time that my ex-husband was on the phone, holding his phone like this, talking, laughing, cracking jokes. Hey, no one is on the phone. Anything he showed me when he's turning his phone around is nothing more than an image from Google Images. The checking account, the savings account, Google Images. The house, Google Images. The company car, that charcoal gray BMW 5 Series, Google Images. Nothing is real. It is not easy telling this story, to relive it. To say that I have no idea who I married is an understatement. It turns out he has a warrant for his arrest.
Okay, can we talk about it? What's up, you guys? This is Kevin Ortega-Rojas. I am a podcaster, content creator, and host. I have a show here on YouTube called Here's Why with Kevin Ortega-Rojas. I also host a podcast called By Latin Men, the podcast. If you have not already, please make sure to subscribe to my channel for other social, political, and pop culture commentary videos. Really, whatever it feels that I think we can dissect. And today's topic, we are talking about the hit drama series
of Who the Fuck Did I Marry?
Who the Fuck Did I Marry? Told by Risa Tisa on TikTok. So I'm going to try to make this video not super long, because if you already watched the TikTok series, then that was hours and hours of time. And if you have yet to watch the TikTok video, I want you to still go back and watch it, because it is so good and I highly recommend it. We are going to recap the story. I'm going to give you all of my thoughts and opinions, what my takeaways were, what red flags I think she missed, questions that I still have about this story, and then we're going to talk about Legion, the pathological liar husband, and whether or not he should be exposed, which people are already dedicating time to doing online. We're going to talk about whether or not he should be exposed and whether or not I think that that is an ethical thing to do. And then we're going to talk about, was this a story worth sharing, and what will the outcome and consequence of this be? And then we're going to talk about whether or not this should be turned into a movie or TV series like people online are suggesting. For those of you who do not know what the fuck I'm talking about, Who the Fuck Did I Marry is a TikTok video series shared by user Risa M. Tisa. And she started this off a couple days ago by just sharing a video about her pathological lying ex-husband. ex-husband. And that turned into a full series where she described their entire relationship. And it is a 52-part TikTok video series, and she maxed out every video. So it is 52 10-minute long videos, and it is worth watching. I will be honest and say that I watched it on 2x speed because this ADHD brain is just not meant to watch that much content at once. Risa met her ex-husband online. They matched on a dating profile, but they actually matched on 2 websites. They matched on facebookdating.com and on different websites. And apparently one of his profiles was his legal name, and the other profile was a variation of his name, so a nickname. And she didn't notice that she matched with the same man on 2 different websites. So they exchanged information, they chatted, they talked on the phone, and they planned to go on a date. This was March 7th. On their way to their first date, Risa's tire blew out, and they were headed to go have dinner at the Cheesecake Factory, which Risa said was her favorite restaurant. Side note, I love the Cheesecake Factory. So they were headed out to, she was supposed to meet him for dinner. Her tire blew out. She called him, let him know what had happened. He met her. They had not seen each other because their initial phone call was an audio call and not a FaceTime call, which, first red flag. He met her at the gas station where she was able to pull her car into. He changed the tire for her. He searched up a tire shop. They bought a new tire, and then they made their way out to dinner, and they held hands and had a good time and exchanged information, and they seemed to have really hit it off. Over the next 2 weeks, they kept hanging out and saw each other quite frequently. Then, of course, the world shut down. This is mid-March 2020. And so they've been hanging out for about 2 weeks, and they decide that they are going to quarantine together. So they decided they're going to quarantine at Risa's place. Risa lives in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhouse in Georgia, and he is living in a studio apartment. He tells her that he had just moved to Georgia from San Diego, California, where he had stayed after he graduated college, but he was living in San Diego, California with his ex-wife who cheated on him, but they were still in close contact because he was a stepfather to her kids. So they broke up. He moved to Atlanta, relocated because of a new job where he was now living in Georgia, renting a studio apartment, but he was not going to be staying there because he was saving up in order to buy a home. And this, among a bunch of other details, was all disclosed to her on the first date. They talked about family, ex-relationships, potential marriage. They talked about dreams and goals and buying homes, all in the first dates. So after about 2 weeks of hanging out together, they decide to quarantine together at Risa's apartment. So now it's April. They're quarantining together at Risa's apartment. Risa lets us know that initially she had a lot of reservations about quarantining with this man because she always said she would not live with a man if he was not her husband. But because of the pandemic, this was extenuating circumstances, and she decided that she didn't want to be alone, and it was nice to have someone who stayed there. He was paying bills. He paid the rent and taking care of the house. So they were cooking and cleaning together. He was helping her pay her bills. She was able to not stress about finances, and she says that this is a very easy situation. It made her feel really good. Then things really started to take a shift immediately. He was staying with her. He told her that he was looking to buy a home and that he was going to start shopping for homes. They had a conversation about whether or not he was going to be shopping for a home by himself to buy for him, or if they were looking to, or if he was going to be buying a home for them to share together. Why they're having this conversation a month into dating each other, I have no idea, but that was the conversation. So now it is April. They decide we are going to look for a house together. While they are looking for homes, she finds out that she's pregnant in early May. So now she is pregnant, it is a pandemic, they've only known each other for 2 months, he's been living with her, and they're shopping for homes together. They get realtors to show them all of these homes. She is comfortable getting a home with him because he shows her paperwork that says that he was approved for a Chase mortgage for $750,000. So he was able to take out a mortgage on a home that cost up to $750,000. He let her know that he had 3 savings accounts, 1 Chase account, 1 American bank account, and 1 offshore account, as well as a checking account. And when she asked about the offshore account, he said that everyone who has money knows that they should keep money offshore, and that when he graduated college, where he played college football, that he played arena football, which is something I have never heard of before. So apparently arena football is different from the NFL and it's different from college ball, but he was being paid apparently to play football. But now he was working in corporate America, and he was working at a factory of sorts. What happens is they look at homes and it falls through. He puts in an offer on the house, and then for some reason things change. At one point, he put in an offer on a house, told her that the house is under contract, and by some coincidence, the house happened to be listed online as under contract. So she went weeks and weeks believing that they were getting closer and closer to moving into their dream home. She is now a month or so pregnant. So she's pregnant. It is now the end of June. They have a home that she believes they are going to be moving into in June. So she's preparing to move, she's pregnant, and then of course, everything falls through when she figures out that he actually never had the home under contract. The house was never for them. Someone else had it under contract, and she had her suspicions, and so what she did was she started recording everything via voice notes. She started leaving herself voice note diaries so that she could explain how she was feeling about this relationship. If you have to start leaving yourself notes when you are dating someone, run. He explains it away, gives her some sort of excuse. She was really disappointed, but she could not fathom the idea that he had lied about it. So even though she had a gut feeling that something was awry, she said that because she saw the paperwork that said that he was approved for a mortgage, and because she saw him signing documentation, legally binding documentation that said that he was willing to pay for these homes, that she believed him, because she thought in her mind, who would lie about these things? So I do feel bad, because she was trying her absolute best to give him the benefit of the doubt, and by this point she's already pregnant. So they take a break from shopping for homes because Risa says that she is done looking at homes. But he tells her, listen, you're pregnant, I want you driving something safe, I'm gonna buy you a new car. So he's already taken her to all of these open houses, and he's looking at all these homes, and he's offering to pay for these, multi-six-figure homes in Atlanta for them, homes that she's falling in love with. He's having her pick out appliances, and they're putting deposits on appliances, and they're planning to start packing their stuff up, and she's pregnant, and they've told their family that she's pregnant. Now, he tells her, I'm gonna buy you a car. He takes her to BMW and has her test drive dozens of cars. She picks out the car that she wants. She wants a blue BMW with cognac interior. This woman is so excited about this car. She got to test drive it, she got to feel it, she is lit up, and she is so excited to get it. He tells her, Monday they're gonna deliver the car, stay home, someone's gonna come between the hours of 1 and 3 p.m. 3 p.m. comes, the car never comes. He tells her that the car got stuck somewhere and something is wrong, and again, he is making up another excuse. This continues on until she finally tells him, just like she did with the homes, listen, I don't want the car. I will buy my own car, which eventually she did. She said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So she is dealing with someone who is continuously offering her things and not following through and always letting her down. But again, she is trying to stick it through. I think at this point, for the most part, because she maybe does love him, but also because she's pregnant. And what happens next is she has a miscarriage. So she miscarries in June. Unfortunately, she has to have a procedure. She has to have surgery in July. So now she met this man, moved in with him, got pregnant, applied for homes, didn't get the homes, doesn't have the baby, doesn't have the car. And she sticks it out with this man. Over the next couple months, all of this continues. It is just a series of offering things up and things not working out, offering, trips, offering all of these things, and nothing ever pans out the way that he says that it's going to. But again, she tells herself, who would lie about these things? Throughout all of this, he is talking about his family quite often. He said during the pandemic that his grandparents died. He said during the pandemic that another uncle of his died. He says that he is talking to he has a routine where he talks to his older brother every morning when he's getting ready to go to work. He left the house routinely every day, Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. and he came home between the hours of 3 and 4 p.m. She said that he was very consistent with this, so much so that she could clock it down to the minute. He woke up, was on the phone with his brother, and would go to work and come back home in the afternoons like clockwork all the time. It was very, very reliable. So this man was someone who seemed like he had everything together. He also got a promotion while they were together, for which she saw the offer letter from HR that he was making over $200,000 a year was his new salary, and he was promoted to VP of manufacturing at the warehouse that he worked. So he was overseeing manufacturing, and he had this big job and big title, and he allegedly had a company car that he kept at the company garage because he didn't want to drive it home. So he would drive to the company garage and switch out cars, and then drive to work, but then drive back to the garage and leave his car there, get him in his civilian car, and then drive that home and leave that in the garage. And it was all of these things, all of these details over and over, things that he was offering, things that he was bragging about that never worked out for him. I'm tired just telling this story. So they go to a ring shop, and he tells her to pick out a ring. He tells her, pick out whichever ring is your favorite. So she points at the ring that she wants. He said, okay, cool, I will come back and get it. What happened was a couple weeks passed. One day randomly at dinner, he slammed the ring box down on the table, and he said, so I guess we're doing this. And that was it. So that was December 2020. January 2021, they go to a courthouse. They get married in a courthouse wedding by themselves. They did not tell anyone because she was embarrassed that she had to get married at a courthouse, and because she did not want to disappoint anyone if things didn't work out, because part of her thought that it wouldn't happen, just like all the other things that he's always promising her. Things always fall through, right? The plan never really works itself out. So they get married at a courthouse, then they go off to have some chicken wings, and then they go home. What happens next is that this man completely changes personalities on her. He starts being very possessive. He starts being jealous. He starts asking her where she's going, what time she's coming home, questioning the people that she's around at work. One day he lied and told her that some man showed up to the house and was asking for her, and that he knows it was her ex-boyfriend, and he wanted to know why he was coming to check for her. And she's like, no one, is looking. Why would anyone be looking for me? And then when she checked the ring camera from the neighbor's house, they showed that no one ever came to the house and no one ever drove by. So he made that story up just to gaslight her, just to see what she was on. This is all January. They got married the beginning of January, and she says that by January 31st, she knew that they were doomed because his personality had completely changed. Now it's February. He goes all out for her birthday. He goes all out for Valentine's Day. And then they get into some fights. Things don't really seem to be that great. Early March, they're still living together. He brings up looking at homes, but again, a lot of the same thing continues to happen. He's looking for homes, but things don't work out. He's looking at houses, but nothing ever happens. He doesn't want to show that he has money. He doesn't want to show anyone proof of funds. He doesn't want to show anyone his bank accounts. He doesn't want to show her bank accounts. It's a lot of the same stuff. It just keeps repeating itself. And then in March one day, because she always had the codes to his phone, she went through his phone and saw him messaging a woman on Facebook Messenger salaciously. He was messaging multiple women, but there was one woman who he had a communication with where they were being very sexually suggestive with each other. When she confronted him about it, she said, we need to go to couples therapy. He agreed to go to couples therapy. They went to couples therapy with a pastor and his wife. And the pastor and his wife told them, had you come here before you got married, we would have told you to break up. Because not only should you not be married, you should not be together at all. And we don't think that this is going to work out for you. But they both agreed that they were going to try to keep working it out. He felt like he was being attacked. So they stopped going to therapy, but they did, in fact, stay together. This is fucking insane. What happens over the next couple months is the alarm bells start to go off in her head, delayed, but one day he recommends to her that they start looking for homes again, and he recommends that they open a joint savings account together and they start putting their money together. And she says, okay, let's do it, because of course, like he has continued to tell her, he has a high powered position at his job and he is earning multiple six figures and he's financially secure and they're good. So she says, okay, if you want to open a bank account together, let's do it. Show me, let's look at our finances together. She shows him her bank account, and then he showed her his bank account. He held the phone up and showed her his bank account, and in his checking he had like $19,000, and then there was more in his savings. And then when she probed him about the other two bank accounts, the savings account that he has and the offshore account that he has, and she said, show me those, log into those, he refused, and he put up a fight and things got weird, and so they never ended up combining their finances, thank God. But that was another red flag for her. So not only was he lying and not following through and being jealous and possessive and talking to other women and refusing to be transparent about his finances, things were just getting really weird for her. So over the next couple weeks, between April and June in 2021, she starts doing more digging. She's calling people, she's looking things up because she's applying for a new job. She applies for a new job because she says she doesn't feel comfortable relying on him financially anymore. So she applies for a job that requires her to do a background check. When she needs the background check, she needs to include her spouse's full name and his social security. When he writes down his social security number, she realizes that his social security number that he wrote down on her background check is different from the social security number that he wrote down on their marriage certificate, which she ran a background check on and nothing came back. So when she ran the original background check and nothing came back, she said, see, he hasn't done anything. He's clearly has a clean record and nothing is wrong and I'm being overreactive, which allowed her to stay in this relationship for the next couple months. So now she sees this new social security number. She runs that and she finds that he has never lived in California. He's only lived in Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. And she finds his divorce papers in the state of Georgia. So he was married and divorced in the state of Georgia, even though he said that he lived in California since college and that he married and divorced a woman in college who cheated on him and then he moved to Georgia. But that was a lie. He had been living in Georgia the entire time. She finds the divorce documents, finds the ex-wife's contact information, calls the ex-wife, and the ex-wife immediately knows exactly why she's calling. She said that she knows that if you're calling me, it's got to be bad. What is it that he did? The ex-wife was apparently very kind and shared a bunch of information and just told her, listen, he is lying to you. Whatever it is that he's told you is an absolute lie. Do not believe him. And so she continues to do more digging. She spends more time doing more digging because she wants to find out just how much it is that he's lied about. She starts calling people. She starts checking on things. Basically, everything that he ever told her was a lie. His parents, what they did for work, everything that he said about them was a lie. He said that his father was a pastor. That was not true. He said that his parents started a church. That was not true. He said that his grandmother died from COVID. She had actually died in 2008. He showed her the burial site where he said that his grandparents were buried in Georgia. That was not the burial site of his family. He had no relation to the people whose name was on that tombstone. He had never lived in California. He was not a VP at his company. He was a truck driver. He was also working independent contracting jobs for construction sites, and basically everything that he had told her was a lie. She also figured out that the company car that he drove every day but never drove home was actually just a Google image that he found online, and that the bank account information that he showed her was actually just a Chase bank account screenshot that he pulled from Google Images. Everything was a lie. He had actually also been married to another woman. He told her that he had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. He actually only has 2 brothers and no sisters. One of his brothers is his twin and they haven't spoken. And his other brother that he says that he speaks to every day actually hasn't spoken to him either. So what she figured out is that every day when he's on the phone with friends or family and he's laughing and chuckling along and he's telling people, hey, my wife says hi, he was talking to no one. That man was on the phone every morning at 6 a.m. for a year, talking to no one. When we got to the twin, I damn near threw my fucking phone across the room because that was insane. And come to find out, the twin has everything that he is telling her he had. So there is some sort of, clearly this is mental illness, but his twin is married with kids, living in Texas, and has a $200,000 plus paying VP job at a big company. So he was taking all of the things about his twin brother and pretending that those were the aspects of his own life, but they weren't. Everything kept piling on, and she decided to confront him on his birthday. She kicked him out of the house. It took the entire summer. She ended up having him arrested one time, and eventually she got him out of the house. They were officially divorced. She left the home and started over. Whew. Whatever that recap turns out to be is what I'm giving you, because there is so much to this story. I know I skipped so much, but I know that I also missed so much. So once we are done watching this, if you haven't already, please go to TikTok and go watch her story. Let's move on. What are my initial reactions, thoughts, red flags, and opinions? Okay, so first, if you match with someone online with today's technology, your first conversation before you go on a date should be a FaceTime call. Why am I going to drive all the way to a restaurant and hope that you are the person that you're saying you are, when I can just FaceTime you on my phone and we can communicate that way? Who is doing audio calls with a stranger? That to me would have been an immediate, and I want to know whether or not she tried to FaceTime him. She did not specify that, but I would love to know if she asked to FaceTime him and he dodged, you know, if he dodged that, because I'm just so curious, who wants to have an audio call with a stranger? My other thoughts, I understand, I completely understand the idea of not wanting to quarantine alone, right? We've never gone through this. The world has never had to deal with what it is that we dealt with in 2020. And I quarantined alone, and I would not have recommended that to anyone. I was partnered. I was in a long-term relationship at the time, but we were long distance, and we ended up getting stuck where we were. And so there were weeks that we spent alone, and I hated that. So I can totally understand why, if you are in a new situation with someone, right? When you first meet someone and you really like them and they're saying and doing all the right things and you're feeling butterflies and you feel this connection, I can see why you would be like, because first of all, we also thought that like quarantine was gonna last 2 weeks. Do you remember when we thought that the pandemic was gonna be over by like May? We thought that Memorial Day weekend was just going to be back to normal as usual. Like, so I can understand why, if it's just like an extended sleepover, why she thought that it was okay to share her space with this person who she was attracted to and felt connected to. I can understand that. I won't fault her on that. I think it was a bad decision, but I will not fault her. I will not say that like you shouldn't have done that. There was one thing that she said toward the end of the series, which was that she thinks that God was trying to give her a sign when he blew out her tire when she was trying to get to their first date. She said, I think the universe was telling me not to go on that date. I don't think that this man was meant for me. And I think that ending up in this situation was because I wasn't listening. All the signs were there. All these things kept happening. All these disappointments kept coming, but I still followed through. I in no way believe that she deserved to experience any of that heartache, that pain, being lied to and mistreated that way. I don't at all. I think that is awful, and I feel terribly for her. But I do kind of see what it is that she's saying, and I tell my friends all the time, I think that the universe throws pebbles before it starts to throw bricks. I think the universe does give you signs, and if you don't pay attention to them, things just start to escalate and get worse and worse because you're creating friction where you're trying to be given guidance. So I just thought that was very interesting because I had not considered that. I'm trying not to judge her, but I think it is really hard once we get to actually getting married. After all of that you've been through, you know, I've recently called off my engagement, not like just myself. My ex and I, we both agreed to go our separate ways because the relationship was not working out. But we were like so hesitant to get to the marriage part because we were so hesitant to get to the marriage part because we were worried that all of the things that we had gone through or experienced or whatever tension or friction we had in our relationship would only get worse if we got married. And that's exactly what happened to her. So I just don't understand how this man kept promising you things and he can't prove any of these things. He can't show you his company car. You've never been to his office, you know, all of these different things, and you went through and married him. You know, she said that she felt like it was finally her time, that someone would love her and accept her and take care of her, and, you know, he was helping her financially and all of these things. And I get that, but the way that women are conditioned to believe that being chosen, that being picked, that's getting married, that getting that guy, starting a family, that is like the ultimate prize and that's what everyone should be striving for. I definitely think that is what she was going through, and she felt like this was her chance to get those things that society tells women that they need to have in order to be validated, and so she wanted to, you know, see it through. But that was, you know, that to me is just, it's a lot, and I feel terrible for her. My last takeaway is toward the end of the video series, throughout, there are parts where I was gagging and like just completely befuddled and shocked and laughing and entertained and all of these things, but this is someone's real life. And I think the last couple of videos is when we really start to see Risa be affected by this story, and she does open up and get very vulnerable at the end, and she says that reliving this is hard for her and that she doesn't trust anyone anymore. And I think that that is awful. And I really, really pray and hope that she gets through that she learns to trust people again, because she is seemingly such a kind person, kind and generous and forgiving and gracious, and she deserves love and affection, and I hope that this does not keep that from her. I would hate to know that this man robbed her of ever allowing herself to be loved again. So alright, next up, should Legion be exposed? So Legion is the name of her ex-husband. Obviously that is not his real name, but that is what she referred to him as. And there is a conversation online as to whether or not he should be exposed. When Risa did this story, she let us know that she was telling the whole truth. She was going to tell this entire story, even if it made her look bad, as long as it could help at least one person. She wants people to be aware of who they're partnering and aware of what it is that they're getting themselves into, so that they don't ignore red flags, so that they don't end up in a situation like this, which I think, again, is very generous of her and gracious of her. She didn't have to share this story at all. She could have kept this to herself, but I think she wishes that someone could have warned her. So should Legion be exposed? Should we share his photos and plaster it everywhere and put a big warning sign on his face? My thought is no. This is not someone who's well. This is not someone who's doing okay. When they divorced, he was homeless. He had been wearing the same clothes from mid-June when she kicked him out of the house to late August when she finally saw him again and he, had gotten arrested. He was wearing the same clothes, living out of a car with no money for gas, no money for food. He had lost a ton of weight. This is not a person who is okay. The things that he did were cruel, right? I think that the things that he did and promising her things and, mistreating her in that way, they were cruel, they were manipulative. I am in no way saying that, he deserves some sort of redemption, but it is not on us to punish him. I don't think that because Risa shared this story with us that we should develop some sort of parasocial relationship with her where now we feel like we need to defend her honor and expose this man. Or I think that that is what a lot of people want to do. Someone on TikTok claims to have found him and shared a man's photo online. I will not be sharing that person's photo. I don't know if that's him or not, but I don't think that you can rationalize this by saying I'm trying to protect women or I'm trying to, get revenge for Risa. She didn't ask us for that. She asked us to just hear her story. She wanted to share her truth, and she did. Do I think that he's probably already doing this to someone else or has probably victimized someone else since that happened? Yeah. She has not spoken to him in 2.5 years. I'm sure that there is someone else who came around down the line that he could have possibly done this to, that he could have, started something with, someone else that he may be mistreating, multiple people maybe. But it's not up to us to play investigator online and start meddling in people's lives and potentially drive this man to hurt himself or others. I think that we need to be really, really careful about that kind of stuff. So if you see videos or posts online that claim to be exposing Legion, sharing his real name, sharing his photo, do not share it. Do not engage with that kind of stuff. All she asked us to do was not enjoy, but we did. All she asked us to do was bear witness to her story, and that's it. So now Risa, when she started telling this story, she had about 4,000 followers. When I started watching the story, she was at about 80,000 followers. And as of this recording, she has nearly 350,000 followers on TikTok, millions of views. Shonda Rhimes is apparently watching the videos and commenting on it on Threads. She's talking about how people are tagging her in all these videos. Should this become a movie? No. And I'll tell you why. For the millennials who are on here, you will remember the story about Zola. And this story, right, started on Twitter. It was viral. We were all reading it. We were going through the entire thread, spending it probably took a couple hours, right, to get through that entire story about what happened between those two girls. And then what happened was everyone was saying, this needs to be a movie, this needs to be a movie. And it was turned into a movie, right? With this, I struggle because, one, Risa's story is not finished. I don't know what happened to Legion, and as much as I say that he doesn't deserve to be exposed, I don't think that we need to drag his name through the mud or bring up his photos or whatever. I personally also don't want to see this story with a Hollywood twist on it. I don't want to see Legion's backstory. I don't want to see him get some sort of redemption at the end. I don't want to see any of that. But that is what would have to happen in order for this to be like a well-rounded, compelling story made for film. Is both characters would have to have, you know, all of this happen. In my opinion, I think that that is what would happen. And I don't want that. And I also think we've gotten everything, right? I don't want to see a movie where we write Risa's fairy tale ending. She's not even there yet. So I think forcing her story to have a happy ending when she's clearly telling us that she is still dealing with this and still trying to move on and heal from this traumatizing situation would be weird. I don't think that anyone should write her happy ending for her, because I think it'll just add more pressure to her life. And I think that she's done the thing that she set out to do, which was share her story. I think that turning this into a full script and filming a movie and releasing it and marketing it would only further traumatize her. Alright guys, that is all the time I have for this video. Let me know down in the comments which part of Risa's story shocked or gagged you the most. And before you go, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and hopefully, I'll see you next time. Take care. Love you. Bye.